Shalom, all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and double honors to the apostles and the elders of great millstone. Bashem Rakak Wadash. My name is Yakalba from Plaintables Camp in Philly. There's just some more information showing you how NATO, the EU, the beast in Revelations is not the beast in the book of Revelation is not together. You know, there's a turbine. They're breaking up. They're showing that they're not unified. You know, you say one thing, but then a country has to look at its best interest. Like, well, I can't agree with that because that's going to affect my economy. All right, so they're together, but they're not really together. Now you got like countries like, let's say Canada, which this is mainly about Canada, returning the turbine to Germany so they can get Russian gas. But you have other countries that are allied, either officially or unofficially, with NATO and the EU that do not agree with them. And now Canada is a NATO country. They're pretty much an extension of like the British. All right. Now let's just let the video play. So it's a gas turbine that Germany needed so they can receive Russian gas. All right. And they got sanctions. Say we don't want Russian gas anymore. They're all supposed to be on board to block Russia, but you got their allies. They want the Russian gas because it's going against their economic policies. So.
Всі наші захисники і захисниці.
President Zelensky didn't pull his punches in his address to the nation tonight, saying it's just a shame to see people lacking the courage to honestly deal with the turbine issue. He called Canada's decision unacceptable and said it will be read in Moscow as a manifestation of weakness. His government also summoned Canadian Ambassador Larissa Galadza to lodge a protest. It was an unaccustomed rebuke for a government that likes to see itself as one of Ukraine's strongest allies.
We have to act with urgency.
Conservatives also condemned the decision.
That is fueling Putin's war machine, that is paying for the missiles raining down on Ukraine.
As did the NDP.
This decision undermines all of that solidarity that so many Canadians have shown right across the country, support for the democracy in Ukraine.
I agree, because the money that he reaps from the gas sales he's going to use for his war machine. All right, it tells you in Ezekiel 38, it says, "And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thy army, horses and horsemen." All right, and that's going to be brought about by first money. Money is going to be used to fuel the Gog and Magog's war machine. All right, it says, "And say thus." Said the Lord Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Gog and Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed all sorts of armor. And it's being paid for in large part by the sale of their petroleum. All right. And this turbine that's going to be for Germany is going to help accelerate that by the sale of their petroleum to Germany and to the rest of Europe.
Ukraine and support for what Ukrainians are living through.
The Russian government was quick to mock the move and to remind Europeans of the hold it has over.
Yeah, let's read that. The Canadian government has decided to sidestep its. This is from Russian ambassador of Russia. Has decided to sidestep its own anti-sanction restrictions and return the Nord Stream gas turbine. Now, I'm sure Germany contacted Canada. Because Germany the one that needs the turbine to bring the gas in. So again, that's that's undermining their organization that they're in, which is NATO. All right. So we can clearly see that they're like it says in Daniel, they're together, but they're really not together. They wanna leave. Gas turbine via Germany, despite criticism from Ukraine, decisions follow Berlin's pleas for Ottawa amid growing energy shortage. Well, there we go. So Berlin did contact Canada, said, look, we need this gas. And that's against the policies that they agreed upon with Russia. It also goes back to Daniel. Let's finish the video out.
Over them. Vladimir Putin says the economic blitzkrieg against Russia has failed. The Trudeau government has argued the decision isn't that simple.
No one's going to benefit from having Central Europe be in the cold this winter.
If ordinary European citizens are asked to make too many sacrifices, they may stop supporting the war effort in Ukraine, which makes it harder to explain why Germany's...
That makes sense, you know. That makes sense if you keep putting pressure, you know, eventually it's going to burst somewhere. And seem like there some countries are not totally on board with excluding Russia and having, you know, an economic war against them and fighting them by proxy. But they kind of have to join in because, you know, the whore is leading them, which is America. All right, so eventually this is going to, you know, evolve into, you know, a world that's, you know, it could be soon, could be later, but it don't look good. You know, we'll see what's going to happen this winter. Whether they're going to have enough gas or they're not going to start to freeze. Things are going to happen if the Europeans are not getting enough gas to heat their homes and for their businesses that use no natural gas. So maybe an alternative may pop up, but as of right now, they need that turbine for to get it. I don't see an alternative yet, but we have to wait and see.
Which makes it harder to explain why Germany's Bundestag last week voted to close 3 nuclear power plants this winter. Germany's Greens, part of the governing coalition, have long wanted to get rid of nuclear power. Those plants are being closed many years ahead of schedule. Germany's choosing to shut down 13% of its generating capacity, even as it pleads energy poverty to justify dropping sanctions. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Gatineau.
Yeah, look like something. A few things are at play here. They need energy, but they're shutting power plants down. So, Daniel 2:42, and as the toes of the feet were a part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. All right. Feet. Feet is the feet and the toes, or the Roman Empire. All right. It says, and whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall be mingled themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with miry clay. All right, so it's the rebirth of the Roman Empire. All right, we're starting with America. All right, and the toes represent the different European powers. All right. So let me see if I can find it. You see here, you got the iron, would be the Roman Empire, and you have the iron and the clay, which is the divided kingdoms headed by the revived Roman Empire, which is America. All right, then you got the toes, which are different European powers. All right. And, you know, Canada has joined, which is just an extension of, you know, Britain, like Australia and South Africa. They're like extensions of the British Empire. All right. It says, well, it says right there. Right there. See the whole, this is a statue. The gold, silver, brass, iron, and the iron and the clay. The iron, Roman Empire, and the iron and the clay. Iron and clay not mixing with each other, which is the divided Roman Empire over in Europe. All right. And extended the borders, you know, to America. All right. So you got America. You got the European powers, Canada. They're all a part of either the NATO and the EU or NATO. All right, so they make up the divided Roman Empire, the divided, revived Roman Empire that are together as of right now, but you're seeing that they're not mixing well together, meaning they're not agreeing on, how they're moving forward with their plan. All right, and that's, this Turbine being returned to Germany is a good example of that. All right. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, as iron is not mixed with clay. Let's look up cleave. Might be Dabaq, yeah. Right there, we're still recording, alright. This is the Aramaic form of Dabaq. See, Aramaic and Hebrew are very close together. So you see, this is the Aramaic. All right. Now you see, Dabaq, and the Hebrew Dabaq, same thing. But how they pronounce it is slightly different. Well, let's click it first. Yep. See how they pronouncing it slightly different? Dabaq. I know we pronounce it differently, but I'm just try to show you how similar they are. Same characters, Dabaq. And you got Dabaq for the Hebrew. You got Dabaq, and this is a side note. You got Dabaq, right there, and this is the Hebrew. All right, together, cleave, to overtake, to make, to cleave, cling, to stay with, to be joined together, and so let's go back to Aramaic, to cling. You got that one there. So let's go to Hebrew. All right, yeah, to stay with. So they're in the economic, military, spiritual union right now. All right, but you're starting to see different schisms, different disagreements. All right, and you want to what's fueling a war machine? The petroleum. That's the hooks getting put back into their jaw. How are they gonna be able to fight? Well, because they got the money to pay for it. All right, and they get that money by one part by selling natural gas. All right, I got one more scripture. It says, Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus 12:8, a friend cannot be known in prosperity, and an enemy cannot be hid in adversity. All right. So eventually, what's going to happen? Revelation 17. And 16. Eventually, the toes, the clay, they're going to turn against the whore. All right, or the horns, all right, are going to turn against the whore. Revelation 17:16, the whore is Babylon, America. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and burn her flesh, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. All right, and naked meaning be exposed to danger, death, vulnerable to attack. All right. But right now you got the schisms. Revelation 17:12, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as of yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. So they're all supposed to, give their allegiance to that organization, NATO and EU, headed by America. They're supposed to be, equal, but America, the whore, kind of runs things. But you can see the schisms. All right, let's listen to some more schisms. I think we finished that. Same thing, pretty much. Then I'll close it out.
Now, Ottawa has announced it will grant a controversial sanctions waiver to return a repaired Russian turbine to Germany. It's needed to maintain operation of the Nord Stream 1 natural gas pipeline from Russia to Germany. The Russian turbine was in Canada being serviced by a German-owned energy company. It will be sent to Germany, and then the country will then deliver it to Russia's state-controlled energy supplier, Gazprom. Ottawa says the decision is meant to help Germany, which is trying to wean itself off its heavy reliance on Russian energy. The decision has sparked anger among Ukrainian officials. Also, the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress says they are, quote, deeply disappointed by the Canadian government's decision to bow to Russian blackmail. Journalist Sergio Olmos is tracking the latest from Kyiv.
Well, as you know, this pipeline it would increase the amount of gas that Russia is able to send to Europe. It's down about 40% of capacity at the moment because of repairs needed. The issue was that Canada could repair this equipment, send it back to Germany, who is trying to wean itself off of Russian gas, but it is a slow process. Kyiv has been objecting, urging against this decision, saying that Russia is trying to maximize its profit, that it sent a letter last month urging German officials to reconsider their actions, saying that, some of the gas pipelines could go through Ukraine, that doing this would allow Russia to bolster its profits and further pressure the West to kind of make concessions on Ukraine's behalf. So this is something that Kyiv is obviously upset about. They did not want this. This one-time exemption does come with Canada announcing further exemptions on mining industries for Russia. But in the larger picture, Europe has moved pretty fast to try to wean itself off Russian gas, making significant benchmarks for the near future. At the same time, Russia's profit from gas sales, because of the price that has increased during the war, it is being profitable at the moment.
And Sergio, turning to the latest fighting in Ukraine, there's been a deadly rocket strike in the Donetsk region. What can you
All right, so you pretty much get that point. Yeah. So whether they have more exemptions, or they let the exemptions, or have more exemptions, or to let the sanctions continue to stand, is still a good point to make. That not all these nations are completely allied with the mind of the beast, which is right now to get Russia out of to push Russia out of the economic world and to isolate them, so they can eventually go to war. But there's going to be a war. But the prophecy is written that they shall hate the whore and burn her with fire. So hope you edified. Shalom.